In the heart of a bustling city, where the air buzzed with ambition and dreams, there existed a dilapidated apartment complex known as Maplewood Heights. The peeling paint and broken shutters of the building mirrored the struggles of its tenants, many of whom were people of color, fighting against systemic injustices. Among them was the Johnson family: Marcus, his wife, Lisa, and their two children, 8-year-old Maya and 6-year-old Jamal. The Johnsons had lived in Maplewood Heights for over 5 years, having moved in after losing their home in a gentrification wave that swept through their neighborhood. It was a modest space, but it was theirs, filled with laughter and love. Marcus worked as a custodian, while Lisa juggled multiple part-time jobs and took care of the kids. They made it work, cherishing every moment they spent together. However, the peace of their lives was shattered when they received an eviction notice from their landlord, Mr. Thompson. A man in his 60s, Mr. Thompson had long been known for his disdain for the tenants he rented to, particularly the black families. His office was a sanctuary of privilege, adorned with reminders of his successful life, while the walls of Maplewood Heights bore witness to the struggles of its inhabitants. "Marcus, we can't lose our home," Lisa said, her voice trembling with anxiety as she read the notice aloud. "He can't just kick us out like this." "We'll fight it, Lisa," Marcus replied, his brow furrowed in determination. "We have rights. We can't let him get away with this." But the reality was harsh. Mr. Thompson had been stirring the pot of racism and discrimination, evicting tenants under the guise of renovations. The Johnsons, along with other families, rallied together, organizing meetings and protests. They knew they needed to make their voices heard, but the struggle was exhausting, and as weeks went by, their options began to dwindle. One evening, during a particularly heated meeting, Marcus stood before a group of weary faces. "We can't just sit back and let him take our homes. We need to show him that we're united. We deserve better." Maya and Jamal sat quietly in the corner of the room, their innocent eyes wide with worry. They could feel the tension in the air, a stark contrast to the warmth of their home, and it weighed heavily on their small shoulders. As the days turned into weeks, Mr. Thompson's indifference turned to cruelty. He cut off the heating during winter and neglected to fix the plumbing, hoping to force the families out. The community, however, grew stronger in their resolve. They called local news stations, organized peaceful protests, and reached out to activist organizations that supported tenants' rights. Then one day, a surprise announcement sent shockwaves through the community. Mr. A. Thompson had decided to sell Maplewood Heights. The news was bittersweet. While it meant the end of his tyrannical reign, it also left the future of their homes in the hands of strangers. That's when an unexpected ally emerged. A local nonprofit organization with a mission to combat housing inequity and support marginalized communities offered to buy the complex. But they needed support from the very residents who called Maplewood Heights their home. The Johnsons rallied the tenants once again, encouraging them to invest in their community. "Let's take ownership of this place. We can do this together," Marcus urged, his passion igniting hope in the hearts of the tenants. The residents organized fundraisers, went door to door asking for donations, and even established a GoFundMe campaign. Slowly but surely, they began to gather the necessary funds. The prospect of owning their home transformed the community's despair into determination, breathing new life into their fight. Meanwhile, Mr. Thompson, watching his empire crumble, became desperate. He stalked the hallways of Maplewood Heights, a shadow of his former self. As he saw families coming together, he felt the walls closing in on him. The very community he had sought to destroy was rising from the ashes, fueled by hope and unity. In the midst of their struggle, tensions flared within the Johnson family. Marcus was consumed by the fight for justice, while Lisa felt the strain of managing the household and worrying about their children. One night, after a long day of protests, Marcus returned home to find Lisa sitting at the kitchen table, tears streaming down her face. "Marcus, I'm scared. What if we lose? What if we can't keep our home?" she sobbed. "We won't lose, Lisa. We have to believe that we can change things," he replied, his voice firm yet tender. "But what about the kids? They don't understand all of this. They just want their home back," Lisa said, her voice cracking. Marcus knelt beside her, taking her hands in his. "I know it's hard, but we're fighting for them. We're fighting for our future. We have to stay strong. As the weeks rolled on, the community's efforts began to pay off. They raised enough funds to make a serious offer on Maplewood Heights, and the deal was accepted. The nonprofit organization became the new owners, and with it came a wave of relief and joy. The residents cheered, embracing one another as they celebrated their victory. But the real challenge was just beginning. Under the new ownership, a community council was established, composed of residents who would oversee the management of their homes. Marcus, as a respected figure in the community, was elected to represent the Johnson family. As he stood before the newly formed council, a sense of pride washed over him. This isn't just about owning a building, it's about creating a safe space for our families, a place where we can thrive together. We need to ensure that no one goes through what we did ever again. Lisa watched from the audience, her heart swelling with admiration for her husband. They had fought tooth and nail, and now they stood on the precipice of something beautiful, a community united in love and purpose. Months passed, and the transformation of Maplewood Heights was remarkable. The new management prioritized repairs and improvements, and for the first time in years, the building felt like home. Families bonded over community events, and children played safely in the hallways, their laughter echoing through the once silent corridors. But as the sun set on one chapter, another began to unfold. Mr. Thompson, now a ghost of his former self, found himself without a job and without a home. The weight of his actions bore down on him, and he soon became a pariah in the community he had once exploited. One evening, as Marcus was returning home, he encountered Thompson sitting on a nearby bench, staring blankly at the ground. The man looked lost, a stark contrast to the oppressive figure he once was. "Marcus," he muttered, barely meeting his gaze. I didn't think it would come to this." "Why did you do it, Thompson?" Marcus asked, his voice steady, but filled with a mix of anger and pity. "You could have treated us with respect, but instead you chose hate." "I was just trying to protect my investment," Thompson replied weakly, shame etched across his face. I didn't see it then." "Now you see it," Marcus said. "You see the unity and love we built. This is what community looks like. You can't take that away from us." With that, Marcus walked away, leaving Thompson to grapple with the consequences of his actions. The Johnsons had reclaimed their home, and through their perseverance, they had created something far more powerful than walls and roofs. They had built a community. As the sun set behind Maplewood Heights, the Johnson family gathered on their balcony, watching the children play in the courtyard below. Marcus took a deep breath, feeling a sense of peace wash over him. They had fought for their home, and in doing so, they had become the architects of their own destiny. Lisa leaned against him, their children nestled between them, and smiled. "We did it, Marcus. We really did it." "Together," he replied, wrapping his arm around her. "Together, we can face anything." And as the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, they knew that their fight was not just about their home, but about creating a legacy of love, unity, and resilience for generations to come. In reclaiming their home, they had also reclaimed their dignity, their pride, and their rightful place in the world. It was a victory not just for the Johnsons, but for every family who dared to dream of a better tomorrow.